Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order. Can we get roll call, please?
Trustee Harrod?
Here.
Trustee Montez?
Here.
Trustee Sierra?
Here.
Trustee Silver?
Here.
Trustee Slover? Vice President Hill?
Here.
President Johnson?
Here. Moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need approval of the minutes for April 23rd. Is there a motion?
I second.
Question? Roll call.
Trustee Harrod?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Trustee Sierra?
Aye.
Trustee Silver?
Aye.
Vice President Hill?
Aye.
President Johnson?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carried. Okay, tonight, we're gonna do a special recognition of our police, our own police that we've had over the years. I was kind of hoping that they would be here to let them know that we really, truly do respect the work that our police force do here at the Peoria Park District. And there's one gentleman, what was his name again? Brought this to our attention before he passed.
Norm Kelly.
Hmm?
Norm Kelly.
Yeah, Norm Kelly. He did, and he was very knowledgeable. He knew some things about the constables and some of the stories that I read, even before the parks was really part of it. You look at these dates back then. I just want, and we have a plaque upstairs that we did with all the names and the pictures of them too. And I just didn't want people to forget those gentlemen because they too gave up their lives to the parks, you know. And I've always wanted to, and I wanted the other park police to realize that we respect what they do. Because right now, even today, it's getting a little different than I was 30 years ago. People have changed out here now. It's a lot more going on. So I wanted to make sure that we, recognized them and understood the work that they do, even our security forces. Because as you can look on your televisions at any given time, you can see what's really going on all over the world with our police and security people, and the things that people are doing now is just unimaginable. And I just wanted our own people to understand that we really do want to recognize them. And I want this to get back to our officers. Also, I don't know if they were working tonight or
They are there on a call. We had two slated to come in addition to
Is it
interim
really?
Chief Edelman, and they're on a call.
Okay, well, I mean, I get it. They still have to.
And Officer Meacham is back
Yeah, I
there.
see Mitchum. Yeah, he's here. We appreciate him as well. But I just wanted to, and I hope that we could continue this on each year, even with future board members, future boards, that we will recognize our police force. So, okay. On May 15th of each year, the American flag flies at half staff to show our gratitude and respect for police officers who give their lives in the line of duty. Tonight, I ask that we dedicate our moment of silence to remember those fallen officers. Those called to service as police officers to do so because of a commitment to keeping us safe and protecting the peace. The loyalty is seen every day and here at the Peoria Park District. It is seen in our spaces and places where they engage and encourage our patrons to act peacefully. Across America, there are more than 700,000 sworn law officers. When each of them took the oath, these brave men and women accept great responsibility and great risk. On behalf of our board and staff and the many citizens that you keep safe every day, I extend our sincere gratitude. In the Park District's 130 years of service to our community, 4 officers have lost their lives in the line of duty. Tonight, we pause to thank them and their families. Constable Arthur Smith, end of watch was June 12, 1922. Officer Charles DeBoat, This end of watch, July 2nd, 1924. Officer David Gall, end of watch, August the 4th, 1937. Officer Charles Barden, this end of watch was August 24th, 1938. Please join me in bowing our heads in remembrance of their sacrifices. Okay. Thank you. We do have, those of you, I know we have some new board members and some of our attorneys. We do have plaques upstairs of each one of these gentlemen who gave up their lives for our parks. And I don't know, Mr. Edmond, if you want to share anything, or you're more than willing to, you want to add? Or?
Thank you, President Johnson and the board, for your recognition of the officers. We deeply appreciate it. We wanted to have some officers here tonight, but unfortunately they're out on call. But your recognition does signify that you recognize them, you see their efforts and their sacrifice, and appreciate everything that they're doing for our community. Albert Einstein said, "Only a life lived in service of others is worth living," and it's true. So we really appreciate it. I'm proud of the department and really proud of the board and being part of the park. So thank you for your time and recognition.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Edelman, some of the board members probably don't know who you are. And I keep, this, I'm sorry, that's, yes. This is Mike Edelman. I've been knowing him, it's been some years.
Long time.
Yeah, so that, he used to be on the Peoria, he used to be on the Peoria Police Department. He's acting chief now for us and helping us to select the chief. And this is Mike Edelman. And Mike, did each one of you, have any of you met him?
A couple of them. So tonight during our police report, we were going to introduce
Yeah, we was going to introduce
interim
you during our
chief.
police
Yes.
So we have.
So we can do that now if that helps, so it's not like a cliffhanger. Sure. We are, as you know, in the process of looking for a chief after Chief Green left us to go somewhere else. We won't talk about him anymore. But as we have struggled through our interview process, we had the opportunity, due to some relationships in the community, to work with Mike and talk with Mike about ways that, as part of the company that he's a part of now, one of the things they do is to evaluate and provide recommendations for structure of police departments. And so this is an opportunity for Mike to help us use the resources available to him to evaluate our data, to help us build a strong SOP process, and to build out operating procedures for our security department so that there is succession planning to support that in the long term for the district. So being able to have his expertise and his familiarity with Peoria be here with us every day is an absolute blessing to us as we work through this process. He is an interim chief. He's happily retired or happily working at his other job, but he has been gracious enough to spend time with us and to help us so that we are able to access his leadership and expertise, especially as we work through this time in our seasonal calendar. He'll talk more with us about the monthly report and his expertise and past, if you're interested in that, when he comes back for police, or you can ask him now.
All right, thank you. He'll come back. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, staff reports. Executive Director.
Good evening, everybody. Before tonight, under my staff report, I wanted to go over the highlights of our fall/winter 2024 community survey. They were slated to be a part of our retreat, and like always, we ran out of time. So I want to cover those with you tonight to give you the background, and hopefully you'll see some validation to some of the strategies that we've been talking about as a board and leadership over the last several months. So Miles, just kind of roll with me if you can, okay? We had in our community survey, we had 3,026 total responses, which we think is excellent. That is more than we have had in our past 2 community surveys. You will note that 66% of those respondents reported as female, 87% responded as white. So as we did with our first community survey, we worked with Dr. Larry Weinzimmer from Bradley University, who helped us to develop the original survey, which we have longitudinally used most of those questions year over year as we've done this survey. We do the survey every 3 years. And so he was able to help us, because he's one of those data analytics guys, right, who could analyze our data to see if there were statistically significant changes in responses based upon that differentiation from the larger community demographics. And where there were, he helped us to make sure that the results that we report to you tonight reflect his analysis, which means that they reflect our community and the demographics of the larger community. So that means sometimes that there were responses that were eliminated from the total in order to make sure that it was reflective of the community demographics. Okay, if you'll flip. So generally, none of these things should be super surprising to you. Things that were rated highly, just as they have been throughout our history of community surveys. Parks and trails, people walk and hike. That's one of the primary things that they do with us as a park district. Sports leagues, special events. So Nick isn't here to get the kudos, but certainly a large part of the work that he is doing and that many of the other staff who are here tonight and watching online do to provide special experiences to our community that is not going unnoticed. Supports that need attention include transportation. We've spent a lot of time talking around this horseshoe about transportation, and we still have not found that right fit to support our community's need for transportation to help getting access to some people to some parts of our really spread out park district. And then fitness classes with supports for parents with children. That's a very specific ask. Well, transportation is a broad concern. That one is very specific and something that we'll talk about as we move forward. By demographic, we thought it was really interesting to note that women are more likely to use parks and trails, go to special events, and visit the playhouse. Men are more likely to go camping and fishing and use fitness facilities. Most of these things you're going to be like, why did you do a community survey to tell me these things? Because they are exactly what you would expect as far as who's doing what, right? Older adults are more likely to use the zoo and participate in senior activities. Younger individuals are more likely to use sports leagues and engage in career exploration. By race, you'll note, and I don't want to read all these slides to you, but again, higher use of parks and trails and walking by Caucasian, lower awareness of scholarship programming and engagement in youth activities. That scholarship piece is something that we have worked very specifically this spring with Jenny and with Scott as part of our CEGA grant to do a very specific scholarship marketing campaign. So we'll see what that looks like, especially as we move into Summer of Fun passes and where if that connectivity is improved. Black people report higher uses of fitness facilities and lower usages of parks and trails. They also showed lower engagement with mental health programming. So that one is tough. I know that Trustee Harrent asked about mental health programming. That is not something specifically that we do a lot of, but it is, as people think about mental health programming, they are thinking about mindfulness and yoga, some of just the simple walks that we offer at Forest Park Nature Center or other locations that connect people to getting outside and what that does for mental health. We also know just simply that messaging around being outside for 20 to 30 minutes a day improves your mental health. Latinos reported slightly higher use of parks and trails and lower engagement in physical health activities. Asians reported lower than average engagement in community activities. It was really interesting, and President Johnson, you will take note, higher income correlates with zoo usage, which hopefully is a good sign for capital campaign as we move forward and start to look at that. Lower income did correlate with less awareness with scholarship programs and fitness facilities. So that's something that does go hand in hand as we try to make sure that folks that we are targeting with some of that messaging around scholarship access and the work that we are doing, especially in Pillar 1 of our DEIA commitment to get programming to the people. That's a space where we need to focus some of our efforts. As you look again, so those key reported areas of concern, these are things that you will see and have seen as part of our action steps as we look at our different commitment pillars. Transportation, one of the things is we have been trying to look at, as we look at older adults and females, were the folks who primarily reported difficulty with walking, biking, and public transportation access. We are trying to continue to evolve as we look at things like shuttle services to programs that are happening out of specific locations so that it's a target audience that is more narrow than just a broad offer. Working with the city, like President Johnson advocates for better sidewalks. And then connectivity as part of our marketing. We always try to connect an activity to the public transportation that makes it more accessible. That's something we started all the way back with Trustee Montez, and we do continue that when he was a part of our staff to make sure that that was a priority for us to show people how to get places with public transportation. Again, as we try to think about underrepresented groups in programming and thinking about Blacks and Latinos and showing them and helping to engage them in parks and trails and scholarship programs, making sure that as we are building out our marketing strategies, we will be talking about targeted outreach and how to make our programming culturally relevant. And those are things that you will see as we evolve and something we spend a lot of time talking about in Pillar 1 of DEIA. Mental health and physical health. We really know that that's something, and I think that Dream Squared is a good example of spaces where we are prioritizing mental and physical health. When you think about Dream Squared, one of those M's is mindfulness. To build that out, we spend as a park district a lot of time thinking about physical activities, right? Fitness classes, engagement in that physical space. We need to spend a lot more time on that mental piece as well, as those two are obviously correlated together. Miles. So the next area that we want to focus on is youth and senior activities. It's sort of those bookends, right? How do we think about more age-friendly programming? We do a lot of fitness programming that is senior focused. What we need to figure out are ways for us to have a more consistent schedule. What does that look like? And that's certainly something that as a board you will be involved in, that conversation where we think about how do we increase collaboration and consistency with other senior providers, and what does that mean for our inventory as we look at making spaces available to do that? We've already focused on and will continue to focus on scholarship awareness, making sure that we increase our marketing in community centers and schools. The packet that went out with the Summer of Fun passes is really bright and vibrant this year, and hopefully that will help us to see some increased participation in that. And then we'll look at what it could mean for us to have an online application for scholarships. There's a lot of documents that you have to attach that is a barrier for folks to be able to do. So we're trying to find that balance to make it accessible, but also make it not then counter to that by making it so hard to do that you can't actually fill out the application online. It's a really fine line. One more, Miles. Okay, so our strategic recommendations, you're going to see these, and you have seen these in our strategic plan and in our commitment work documents. We want to really be intentional about investing in and promoting programs with strong positive correlations. So we're really pushing those things that are parks and trails, sports leagues, special events, the things people want to see. We want to make sure that we are pushing those because those are easy gateways to get them to other things that we want to make sure that more people know about. So how do we leverage those big events and those big experiences to get people more aware of the smaller things that are really impactful in what we do? Continuing to evaluate those transportation solutions. What does it look like? Are there ways for us to provide different kinds of subsidies to lower income individuals to help them get to facilities and to programs? That is a nut we have not yet cracked. So if anybody has new ideas, we would love to hear them. Thinking about how we increase family-oriented programs and services. So we do already provide childcare during fitness classes. How do we get people to take advantage of that at the Riverplex? What does that potentially look like in other locations so that we can support parents with children across the district? Now really one more, Miles, hopefully. And then finally, I think this is final slide. So focusing on health and the environment. How do we develop programs that, as we said before, enhance both mental and physical health rather than one or the other? And how do we use those as opportunities to really focus in and educate people on environmental conservation initiatives? How do we think about our senior programming? We're on, we have for several years, right, talked about how do we meet the needs of seniors? We went through a phase where they didn't want to be called seniors. They wanted to be mature adults. We haven't yet met them where they are in the right space. This would be a great opportunity for one of those focus group conversations to really figure out what those needs are more specifically and figure out how we use our inventory to support them. There's some groups out there in the community that are doing really great work. How can we support them rather than recreating the wheel? That's where we need to really figure out this summer, especially how to plan forward so that we're budgeting appropriately. Finally, support career development. So that's been something that I'm super proud of, the work that the Park District has done in a non-traditional Park District space, thinking about the work that we're doing to enhance career exploration and skill development. Is it Youth Advisory Council? Is that what? Is that Youth Ambassador? Okay, so just today we did interviews for our first cohort of youth ambassadors that will help us to pull their peers into some of our programming. That's work that Chanel Hargrave Murray is doing with us. That's a new add-on. It's a complement to that idea of an advisory board. That's why I can't keep the name in my brain, but it is something that helps us to build towards that. And are we done? See how we did, Miles? Yes. Okay, so there's a ton there. Most of those things you have seen in other places, which was really affirming for us. Thank you to Brianna Cobb for helping to put that document together. That it takes a long time, especially when you have 3,000 responses. We're really thrilled to have that. I shared the raw data with all of you. It's like 186 pages. I'll have to come up with some kind of a quiz, and there's a prize to see if you can find something hidden in there as an Easter egg to get a present if you read all that. So really, really good stuff in there, and I think it just affirms that we are on the right track. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
How was the survey conducted? I mean, what?
It was a combination, yes, it was SurveyMonkey, but we did have hard copy forms. So it was a combination. We did make those hard copy forms available at locations, and we tried to push to offer those in other community locations to try to increase some minority participation. Sometimes that's more successful than others, but because we had such a high total number, it was statistically significant for us to use that data to be able to present the results tonight.
Was there anything in there that surprised you?
I was pleasantly surprised by some of the correlation with higher income participation with some of the programming. I was pleased to see improvements in some areas of participation and reporting out of participation, seeing that like the Playhouse moved up in some of those things, right? Like that was one, the first 2 times we did it was so new. As we're about to celebrate its 10th birthday here in 2 weeks, seeing that get traction with people and see that move up the preference list was really good to see. But it was a lot of affirmation of things that we thought we knew and we thought we were seeing. And so it was really good to see that affirmed with data.
Anything that didn't work out like you thought it would?
I think we're really frustrated with that transportation piece. I think that's hard to know how to do that and allocate the right amount of resources to that, and it continues to be a bugaboo. Yep.
So the responses, were they geographically dispersed throughout in terms of transportation being a barrier, or were they focused in certain parts of the community?
It was actually not exactly what we thought. A lot of the transportation issues were not in those, like in the Southern District. Those weren't the folks who complained about transportation. It was the northern folks that are more spread out to get to activities. We have enough green space that it is walkable and accessible, so it's in some of those northern spaces and places, and that was not necessarily what I thought we should be targeting. So that one is a new one.
You had mentioned you thought that the response about that it was mainly getting to events as opposed to transportation to a major to.
Do you agree with that,
versus the
Brianna?
neighborhood park.
It wasn't necessarily park access.
Yes, I don't think it was necessarily just parks and green space. I think it was access to events and maybe programming opportunities for people.
Some of that's also an easy answer, right? If you don't participate and you kind of feel bad about it, it's easy to say, well, I don't have transportation. So you got to find that balance to figure out so that you don't overreact to something that is a really expensive response.
And were the, excuse me, one last,
No, no, you're
were
fine.
there, of the 3,000 responses, were they dispersed sort of population-wise throughout the district?
That was a better, yeah.
I would say yes overall, but the next time we do the community survey, I know we would like to see a higher percentage of variation in participants by BIPOC individuals, Latino community, Asian individuals. I know that Jenny worked on catering the community survey to certain regions, certain zip codes, and we still would like to see those numbers increase next time we do the community survey.
But geographically, that wasn't really, it was much more race, gender that were issues for us as far as geographically, we did put people both in and out of the district.
I appreciate the survey, and I thank you for sharing the raw data. I'm the one that, of course, requested it, so strap in, everyone, for your reading. I think it's perfect timing, and I also agree with Emily in that this is reaffirming. I think it's also a testimony to the hard work that's been done over the course of the past 2.5, 3 years, really. Not only from the focus group conversations that we have had on a variety of topics, but also the due diligence by the staff and members of the board as well. None of the information that was presented actually surprised me at all. All of it is something that we have spoken about before. A great example, the scholarship component, the utilization, we see that's lower than what we want it to be. And I think a lot of this is going to boil down to the intentionality of our partnerships. I really do think that the Park District is really continuing to evaluate how we can exhaust all of our options to do what we are charged to do as a park district. And so I look forward to this next phase that we step into, which is really challenging our community partners to rise to the occasion, to help us transport individuals, to help us close the workforce gap, to help us bridge connectivity between our large signature events and our low income individuals. I do think that, there's some clarifications that the data will answer, but I think overall it was pleasing to hear that a lot of what we say is not us just blowing smoke. It is grounded in, I think previously for me, more on the qualitative side, and this checks off the quantitative as well.
Any other questions?
Just finally, I want to note 3 things. You have calendar invites. If you haven't seen them yet, check your email. June 5th, we are part of a community-wide press conference to celebrate the collaborative that we have built across Peoria to celebrate Juneteenth and Jubilee Day. So that's the kickoff of that community-wide calendar. And then we hope to see you obviously on June 19th at Glen Oak Park for the drone show and the full evening of activities, actually full day of activities that will take place before that. On June 11th, we'll be celebrating the 10th birthday of the Playhouse, which seems crazy to me. And we'll be talking about just the past, present, and future of that facility, which has grown dear to so many people. The next day, on June 12th, we will celebrate the ribbon cutting of the new playground at FRC. And that will be in collaboration with the Parks on Tap evening event that night at FRC as well. So that is a later afternoon press conference ribbon cutting. So we hope to see you all at those events. Thank you, President Johnson.
Thank you. Okay, Superintendent. Design, planning, and construction.
The monthly report is before you. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try and answer them. Obviously, it's spring, summer, and construction's underway everywhere throughout the district. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to try and answer them.
Anybody have any questions of trustees? Have any questions of Becky?
Just a comment, I noticed there is no project material behind schedule, and I want to congratulate you on that.
Our team works really hard. There's a lot going on. That's good.
The bathrooms at the playground, Glen Oak Park, will they be completed or?
Probably late summer. There's some issues with material lead times.
And the splash pad and here,
July, that one will be open. It's looking good too.
good job.
Scott checks in with Becky every day. When is the splash pad ready? Is it going to be ready? When is it going to be ready?
But Columbia Park Playground?
That one is, we're currently in the process of getting 3 options for the playgrounds, which we'll put out to the public
Okay.
to decide on.
Do you know
And
when that sort of public part might be? I mean, we talking
Fairly,
June?
fairly soon. Yeah.
Okay. And you're in connection with the neighborhood association?
We will be when,
Okay.
once we get to that point, we'll make sure everybody is aware and gets to vote on it.
Awesome. Okay. Any other questions of Becky, anyone? Thank you, Becky. Chief of Police.
Hello, everyone. Again. I believe everyone has the report that was distributed. If anyone has any questions, we can talk about that. But first, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to introduce myself to those that don't know me. So my name is Mike Edelman. I'm a Peoria boy. So I, family, my father's side, south side of Peoria. I lived just over on Nelson most of my life. I used to walk over here when I was a kid, participated in all the park activities and did all that. Started as a Peoria Police Explorer when I was 16 years old, then a Peoria Police Cadet, took the test when I was 20, because I had my associate's degree and got hired at the Peoria Police Department at 21. Had a great career there. Retired in 2016 as the Assistant Chief of Police, but did a lot of really cool things when I was there. I was a detective, I was in the street crimes unit, I was a mobile field force instructor, I was on the bomb squad, I did all kinds of neat stuff. And then in 2016, I went to the private sector. I was last vice president for Pinkerton of the U.S. and Canada, and we had operations all over the world. Got to see a lot of different security facets. We did just about everything. I used to say when I was with the city, I had all the authority and no budget. And when I was in the private sector, I had all the budget and no authority. So just was kind of bring both those worlds together. Heard that there was a vacancy, and I just offered my assistance up. I do have a company that I started. I've got 4 partners. We kind of come as a package deal. Just wanted to help out with the overall review of the officers and policies and procedures and how things work with the park. One of the first things I did is I really believe in data-driven policing. So I looked at all of 24, year-to-date 25, busiest days, busiest times of the day, how we're deploying our officers and working with Mr. Starks with our security staff, and just really still in the evaluation mode. Good and bad with that. Like right before I walked over here, I realized that my printer's not connected to my computer. So, getting through some of those things, but yeah, it's been fantastic. There's a lot to do, as Emily mentioned, with the policies and procedures, legal updates, making sure that we're collaborating well with our partners in the city and the county and Peoria Heights and all the other areas. I mean, obviously you guys know better than I do, but with such a vast park district and so much responsibility, we want to know where we need visibility and where we're vulnerable, and, can always do better. So looking at those things too. But happy to answer any questions that you may have about the report or anything at all. I should mention too, happily married for almost 31 years, 3 kids, and they're almost out of the house. I'm almost an empty nester. So. Nice to meet you.
On your report, there's that found property in Rutherford Park, Leslie Rutherford Park, which is way out past north of Grand Prairie. Are we finding any of that kind of equipment in any other parks? That's pretty far out.
Yeah, so we and again, going back to our vulnerabilities and visibility, right? So we do have, I tried to go over and peruse the report, so I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, sir, what exactly was found out there. We have had found property, baby strollers, different things. We had some damage at Robinson Park, I think it was a week or so ago, the restrooms. So it's not always where you might think that you would have the most activity, where we do have activity, and the officers are responding to it. So that is,
Matt's
Yeah,
anxious.
Trustee Montez, I can speak to that specifically. An abandoned old pop-up pull-behind camper was found some years ago. Our best assessment, anywhere from 8 to 10 years ago, was found kind of back in the trees in a wooded area.
Oh, it's been there a while then.
It had been there for several years, yeah. So it was a combination effort. Sports Service staff, forestry went in with officers, one of the park officers, recovered it, tried to see if we could identify who the rightful owner was. I don't think there was even any traceable VIN numbers or anything left on the unit.
Okay, thank you.
So apologies if this is opening a can of worms, but I'm just curious, what is the park police relationship with ICE?
to my knowledge, we have no relationship with ICE. I've not seen any policies or procedures since I've been here. Granted, it's been only about a month. We've had no interaction.
We're going to let Brianna tag team and
Perfect.
We are currently in the process and have been in collaboration with Paderma to build an HSI and ICE policy. I'll be sure that you get it, okay?
Thank
Yes.
We do have a welcoming policy that I'm sure you, I don't know if you've seen our welcoming policy.
I have not.
Yeah, so that would be sort of a beginning step, I think.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, as upon reviewing our policies now, obviously seeing what we have and what we don't have, and then making sure that we're somewhat consistent in our procedures anyway with surrounding departments. But I know there's going to be things that we will want to do differently. So, and we'll have those discussions obviously with staff, but I've got a lot of catching up to do too.
Anyone else have any questions?
I'm going to raise the same question that we talked about. Really just to kind of, if you can fill us in as a board, looking at the crime reports, obviously there's a lot of activity in Glen Oak. With, coming up, is there, I guess, a strategy that you determined because of the uniqueness of, kind of the topography and its accessibility and demographic, and to curb some of this? It just seems like there's a lot of violence going on in a place that we really need to protect. So
Agree. And,
Yeah.
and like we spoke, looking at the April incidents, and I believe 4 of them were in Glen Oak. 5.
five
Okay.
and 7,
Yeah, we're in Glen Oak. There's a variety of factors, right? There's literally a $1 million new shiny toy that's there that people are going to utilize. It's probably the first good month of weather, which is going to bring people out. And like anytime there's a change in the weather, people have to learn how to play nicely together and do all of that. Looking at this month, the number of reports at Glen Oak are down, which is a good sign. Looking at the reports in April, I did not see of those identified. I did not see any repeat offenders, which was good. There was a lot of interaction with parents where, parents were notified and seemed to be somewhat appropriate on accepting their children and being told that they have a timeout from the park. But directly to your question, we're looking at all of technology deployment of officers. Again, looking at, like I said, the time of day, days a week, where we have our security staff, layering all of that, using technology with cameras or drones. And some of the things I looked at was, even the trails, some of the things that we can do. So it is a work in progress.
and can you tell me where in Glen Oak Park this is it like all over, or is it in one kind of general?
It's pretty much all over from what I've seen. I could look at the exact locations, but
obviously,
yeah.
park, I didn't know if it was constituted around the playground or.
No, we've had some, I looked and there's, you have family fights, there's domestics by cars, there's, incidences obviously by the new Tricentennial Playground. They're not necessarily concentrated, but, when you look at how many people that park serves specifically, and the people that come from all over. We just had an incident where some bicycles were stolen, and the family, they were in town from Tremont. But the officers did a great job. The security officers recognized some of the individuals. The officers went over. We were able to recover everything. And the lady came yesterday and picked her bikes and her bike carrier up. It was good collaborative effort with our staff. Part of having the security officers that we have deployed where they are is because a lot of them work for District 150, so they know the kids in the neighborhood, which gives us a great advantage. It takes away that anonymity, which is, we see a lot. And we don't want to be an overbearing, occupying force with police officers. So we try to evaluate that as well. So it is a work in progress, but trying to put several layers together is certainly our goal. And obviously we want people to feel safe going to the parks. And then there's that image too, because, I don't know if we want to have a SWAT team or officers, in full gear standing outside. That would also send a wrong message. So, but everyone's safety is obviously paramount.
I appreciate you bringing that up, and I really appreciate you ending on the balancing act of what it means to police, especially in today's communities. One thing that I don't know if you're having conversation with our team, well, you're a part of the team, but with the team about, but one thing that, ever since some discussion last year about the activity in that park, I've been hypersensitive about is the negative activity. And so one thing that we've challenged, I'll say I've challenged, I know other members of the board have too, but they can speak, is challenge our staff to really get creative with the space, because you hit the nail right on the head. That large of a regional green space serving such a dense community and it's immediate, but also being a regional attraction, it's going to be hard for us to get our hands around that. However, especially with our police department, we have to figure out how we can not only send the message of intolerance when it comes to this behavior, but also the message of innovative policing that allows the parks to do what we do best, which is provide great programs. And so I know Steve Pryor had mentioned, how do we narrow off spaces or close off spaces to reduce, And so I'm not in policing. That's not my background at all. But I know that that's something that I've really wanted us to wrap our hands around of how do we have more control of that space.
I agree with you 100%. And, as we say, security is everybody's responsibility. And we need to be hyper collaborative. And I don't like, to your point when we spoke, Ms. Hill, I don't like to just be reactive. I like to be proactive. So to work on those things together. What I've spoken to the officers, I want them to be hypersensitive to staff when they see something. Work with Christy issues down at Camp Wakanda, Scott down at the Recplex, Nick putting an operations plan together for Juneteenth and July 4th. We have ongoing meetings. So all of those things, we really want to know what everyone is seeing, what their concerns are, because they're there, right? I mean, they see these things every day. And again, knowing some of the kids that are there, and you can't have a cop on every corner, but we have a great staff here at the Park District. And if we're communicating, we're talking, I guarantee you we'll do some great things.
Any other questions? Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, committee reports. 8A, need approval for the memorial bench at FPMC. Need a motion?
I move to approve.
Question? Roll call.
Trustee Garrett,
Aye.
trustee Montez,
Aye.
trustee Sierra,
Aye.
trustee Silver,
Aye.
vice president Hill,
Aye.
president Johnson.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
8B, memorial bench at Glen Oak Park.
I move adoption.
I second.
Question? Roll call.
Trustee Garrett,
Aye.
trustee Montez,
Aye.
trustee Sierra,
Aye.
trustee Silver,
Aye.
vice president Hill,
Aye.
president Johnson.
Aye,
Yep.
motion carries. We need approval on the disposal ordinance.
You gotta do this.
No, we did just do that.
You didn't post that one?
Oh, sorry, I got a hiccup there, sorry.
On the disposal ordinance, I had a question before we go into the, to approve it. Do we ever, I noticed those vehicles, do we ever donate those to other organizations, or are they in a good enough shape to be, like, I understand the neighborhood house, for instance, needed a van of some sort. They're in good enough condition to donate anything like that? To organizations?
Are we required to put it on to?
Oh, I didn't know.
It's going to govdeals.com. It says it's going to go to govdeals.com. Is that like the policy?
That's to sell it. We do have the opportunity to donate, if we are able to connect with someone that it makes sense for us to do. I can't speak specifically to
I don't know the conditions of it.
the condition of that specific van. Do you? We can,
I know theirs got stolen or some sort, some year.
okay.
And I
Yeah,
was just wondering,
both the Unit 14 and Unit 19, the two Dodge Caravans are in pretty rough shape at this point. 2006, 2007 model years.
Probably not.
They've lived a long life. But certainly as far as that collaboration with another agency, that I think that runway is an opportunity for us should someone's need meet, when we don't have operational use for a vehicle anymore. I think that opportunity is there to answer your question. I don't know that these two units would probably be appealing to an agency at this point.
oh, really? Okay. I didn't know what the condition of them were. I know we didn't really run them till they,
High mileage, a lot of surf body rust.
I was just wondering if we had an opportunity to donate to some of those organizations out there like that might need.
We certainly welcome those opportunities where it makes sense. We hate to saddle them with something that's going to cost them more than another
Yeah.
opportunity.
Okay. We need a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Question? Roll call?
Trustee Harrod?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Trustee Sierra?
Aye.
Trustee Silver?
Aye.
Vice President Hill? Aye. President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries. 9B, post-travel approval for trustees that attended the annual IAPD legislative reception on April 29th. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Question? Roll call?
Trustee Harrod?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Trustee Sierra?
Aye.
Trustee Silver?
Aye.
Vice President Hill? Aye. President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries. Pre-travel expense approval for President Johnson to attend the annual NRPA conference in September 16th through the 18th in Orlando. Need a motion?
Is this the annual?
Yeah, the annual.
Okay. And when's that registration end? Or the early
The
registration?
early register, I believe December 1st?
December?
1st, August 1st. No, the conference I know is September 16th through the 18th.
The bigger issue with those
believe-
is always the hotel.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yeah, I know. And Florida.
In Orlando. Not just Florida, Orlando.
Florida's the big one.
August 1st is the end of early
Okay,
bird
thank you.
registration, not end of registration.
And how much more does it cost if it's not early bird?
That's an excellent question.
I'll move to approve.
I was,
No, you're fine. I mean, we can still discuss it, but
here we go. Early bird. It's an addition, beyond August 1st, it's an additional $220 to the registration.
I'll second.
Question? Roll call?
Trustee Harrod?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Trustee Sierra?
aye.
Trustee Silver?
Aye.
Vice President Hill? Aye. President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries. Montez is on this one will not be attending the boot camp. Is that correct?
But I'm not.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I need a motion for approval. Minus trustee Montez.
I don't think I'm on there.
You're not on there.
I don't think I'm on there.
You are.
I read.
On this one, it shows Montez.
It says Montez.
Printed it
Approval for
be- oh,
trustees to
okay.
attend.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Your
He's
name's
not,
on there.
I see.
On the printout,
yeah,
but
it
not
printed
not
out.
on the, right.
I'll move to approve 9D for President Johnson and trustee Silver.
Second.
Question? Roll call.
Trustee Harron?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Trustee Sierra?
Aye.
Trustee Silver?
Aye.
Vice President Hill? Aye. President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
The Paul lease extension.
So we're asking for the board to approve a 2-month continuation of the current lease terms. The current lease expires on May 31st. The parties need some additional time to negotiate some elements of the current lease agreement, including shared costs of capital repairs and other terms in the agreement. So we're asking for June and July so that we have sufficient time to conduct that due diligence and bring back a full lease for you to review.
President Johnson, I have one question. In the discussions that you all are having now, does anything consider the utilization of that space?
So we're focused right now on trying to get some, to share costs of some capital repairs. We absolutely will address in the long-term lease how to ensure public access to the pool. Yes.
Thank you.
Your motion for approval,
I'll move to approve this 9D.
extension for 2 months.
I'll second.
Question? Roll call.
Trustee Harron?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Trustee Sierra?
Aye.
Trustee Silver?
Aye.
Vice President Hill? Aye. President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, we have an extensive list of calendar of consent items. Does anyone want to talk about anyone or
Can we move 10F off?
10F?
That's been Frank.
And may we pull 10A? A for Alex.
I will move B, 10B through E. Would that be correct?
Yes.
For adoption?
I'll second.
Question? Roll call.
Trustee Harron?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Trustee Sierra?
Aye.
Trustee Silver?
Aye.
Vice President Hill? Aye. President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, 10A,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but did we consider breaking out the installation and technology of the TVs for Golf Learning Center? The reason why I ask is because I realize this may be an opportunity for us to continue to increase our numbers in contracting when it comes to minority contractors. I know we have several local minority individuals who do commercial installation of TVs. So I just wanted to know if it was a consideration and what that consideration looked like.
This specifically isn't for TV installation. It's
Could you
for the-
speak up, please?
This isn't necessarily for the actual TV installation. It's for the direct TV, all the hardware that goes with it.
So it comes with the DirecTV people
Right.
to install.
So the TVs are separate. We're purchasing those
Got it.
separately.
Okay, well,
This is
just,
the satellite.
all right. Well,
But you do know people that install TVs?
so when it's time, please do reach out. All right, sorry about that. Well, not sorry, but thanks for the clarification. I'll move to approve 10A. Or no, ratify, I'm sorry. How do I say it?
question? Roll call?
Trustee Harron?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Trustee Sierra?
Aye.
Trustee Silver?
Aye.
Vice President Hill? Aye. President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries. 10F, Riverplex Arena floor replacement.
And I think I also know the answer to this, but the floor Is this a single bid item?
Yes.
Single source item?
This is through Sourcewell, which is a pre-bid cooperative.
Okay. I have no other questions. Move to approve 10F.
Second.
Question? Roll call?
Trustee Harrod?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Trustee Sierra?
Aye.
Trustee Silver?
Aye.
Vice President Hill? Aye. President Johnson?
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank
Pending business? None?
No.
Search and request to address the board?
No.
Any communications?
Yay for Kroger rewards.
Other business,
Joyce has
I have
one.
one.
oh, I'm sorry, Joyce, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I was going to discuss this in strategy, but we ran out of time. So there was a letter distributed, and I just received this today personally, and it's on behalf of Peoria Proud and the River City Pride Festival Committee, and they are requesting the city of Peoria to cover the costs associated with illuminating the Murray Baker Bridge in honor of their community. Specifically, they are asking for the bridge to be lit in rainbow colors on June 28th in remembrance of the Stonewall Uprising, a pivotal moment in LGBTQIA history. And so what this is an ask to be a signatory to the letter in the request that the bridge be lit on June 28th. So I just thought I would bring it to the boards for your consideration to see whether that's something that we wanted to do.
I would love to sign on. Do you know how much it cost by chance?
They don't say in here. I do not know the answer. I don't know if one of our staff might have an answer of what that is.
I just wonder if it's an opportunity for us to help out beyond just the signature.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of, you got to pay somebody to program.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they,
it's not like changing bulbs or anything like that.
yeah, one of the, I know the individual that, I know the individual that handles all of the lighting and everything. I just don't know the cost of it. So I mean, we sponsor a variety of community things, so just interested in that cost component.
Was they asking for money?
No. They were just asking to be a signatory to the city, yes, requesting the city to do the lights on June 28th for the Murray Baker Bridge.
If they,
I can't hear.
well, I was talking to Emily, that's why. I was saying for the public that if they have any issues with the lighting cost, for us to please step in and to assist, realizing that the cost would be $150.
That's it?
Oh, okay, so,
Well, it does, sorry, it does say like custom color scheme start at 800. So I don't know if this would be custom.
Whatever Emily has, but nonetheless, if they have any issues, I would love to be engaged to figure out how we can help
I'm
out.
guessing rainbow is on the list, 'cause I've seen rainbow before. So we can figure that out. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. I would be surprised if it did.
so I first, oh, I'm sorry. Kevin, did you? Oh,
I wasn't sure what trustee.
Oh, I was asking if we just need a consensus if we want to vote on it or.
It's not on the agenda. It can certainly be brought back before the board.
Can we
but
just
you can't take
consensus
it from
to,
the bench.
you can't consensus to sign off on a letter?
I would recommend that you reach consensus to bring it back to the full board.
well, that won't be possible.
Time-wise.
The timing.
Can we phone poll?
What is
I
the
was going to say,
timing?
here's what we're going to do. We're going to phone poll it, and then we're going to ratify the phone poll vote. So we'll send this out to everybody tomorrow and ask
Okay.
you to turn
Thank
around the
you. I
time.
appreciate that
So then we can
suggestion.
ratify it at June 11th.
That would be appreciated. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, are there any questions or concerns? I guess I would appreciate knowing if there's any concerns that, on our being a signatory. Okay. Thank you.
Nobody seems to have any concern?
That's great.
Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's a good cause.
So we're gonna do a phone poll?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
And the other thing is, in there, you can be an individual signatory, so you could respond to let Peoria Proud know that you as an individual, if you so wish to sign, to be part of that letter.
Any other questions on this? Yes, the
Oh, no, none of
trustee.
this. I just had something else for other business.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So, and I mentioned to you that I was at the Riverplex and I saw a family come in ready to go swimming, but I don't think that they had public swim at that time at the Riverplex. And I'm hoping that staff can send out a note to trustees to let us know what days and hours the pools in the Park District are open.
Sure. We'll do that tomorrow.
I want to talk about the appreciation of our police tonight. Actually, I wasn't really that. I really think these individuals should be recognized in a better way than we've been doing. This is the second year now. We haven't had our own police here to let them know that they're honored in the work that they do in our community. They do have dangerous jobs. I know firsthand. And I mean, we did this with these gentlemen. We started it last year. Our own police force didn't show then, and they weren't here today. Is there a reason? Is there something that we're missing here, or is it just no? Or maybe it's not important because this is the second year in a row that this has happened. And
Some of this is a mechanism of the makeup of
and the
our.
media, they wasn't here.
We did a press release today. We did have an outlet reach out to me and ask some questions. We provided them with the language from your speech tonight.
Okay.
The part of the struggle with officers is the mechanism of the makeup of our force. As you are aware, we do have some vacancies right now. We are all hands on deck when it comes to coverage. The bulk of our officers are part-time officers, so if they're not here, they're working somewhere else, or it may be something that if we could facilitate a daytime remembrance, we could work. I think part of it is the evening time when they are, if you look at the times of our police reports, they are busiest in the evenings. We could certainly find another way to facilitate that and have it be a press event along maybe in that week of police. This falls out of the cycle, the way our park board meetings land. The actual week of honoring police was in between our two park board meetings. So we are after that National Week of Police Remembrance has taken place. So we could try to do it during that week, which would
Okay.
probably get more coverage. We can talk about the logistics, but part of it is just the makeup of our force and their commitments to other jobs but what they are, an invitation is extended to them.
Well, I also want their plaques to be visibly shown here.
We're going to move it downstairs.
Are we? Because that's
Yes,
back
Matt and I
there.
actually, I messaged him during, as we were thinking about this, we're going to move it downstairs so it's more visible during your presentation.
Well, it was one of the reasons when we first started this a couple, 3 years ago. The gentleman that was a historian brought it to my attention. And he said, that we never, people don't really realize the depth of what those officers done. They just kind of get forgotten. And I was just trying to bring it back so that the public and our officers would know that these individuals gave up their lives. I mean, like the Peoria Police Department does. And I just thought it was important. But here lately, I'm just wondering if there's something I'm missing with the officer. Perhaps maybe next year, we can maybe do a daytime or afternoon when they're available
Sure.
to let them know also that their work is important. That's the reason why I was just kind of a little disappointed, to be honest, tonight, because they wasn't, it just seemed like it was just kind of like half done. And, but that's so important when somebody give up their lives and, we're not, we did, but I don't know. But if you said that's the case, then okay. Anything else on other business?
I had something that I forgot to bring up, and when we were talking about item 10D, the purchase of the Ford F-150 Lightning truck. It occurs to me, since I bought an electric vehicle myself. You can get a $7,000 rebate. And I was just wondering, I was looking at the form for that and I didn't see that in there. Had we, do we have plans to get, you can get $7,000 from the federal government and I think another 4 from the state. Are we going to take advantage of those?
Nicole, do you know if that's available through the state contract? Okay.
So I believe the rebate is a income tax rebate.
I think so.
Park District doesn't pay that.
Oh,
So,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
Not applicable. But yes.
All right,
Good
never
thought.
mind.
Okay, anything on action steps review?
We're going to get pool hours for all the pools out to trustees tomorrow. And we will phone poll the Peoria Proud sign on to the letter.
And anything with the police?
We're going to move the memorial and we're going to talk to you about next year.
Okay, that's, thank you. Appreciate it.
And with the pool hours, can you include the Riverplex hours?
Yep.
Okay, all minds clear. A motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all again for your time and effort. Once again, we appreciate it. Staff.